today. My name is Kim Murdoch and you're watching Arts Hub Online. So today's craft project is something that's really fun. It's something you can take with you. It's called Tic-Tac-Toe on the Go. This is a game that's made out of paper plates and yarn, and can you hear that? It's made with the lids of water bottle containers. So it's really great because it's a wonderful way to repurpose something. It keeps it from going in the landfill, and it's a nice thing to do because you should have these things lying around your house. So I'm going to tell you all about the supplies you need, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, you need some paper plates. So these are paper plates that I use for my after-school art classes. They're uncoated, which means they don't have any wax on them. If you have paper plates that are coated, that's fine, because you're going to be putting them inside out anyway. So just know that you just need at least 2 paper plates. You also need a pair of scissors and a hole puncher today. And you need some clear tape. Now you don't have to have clear tape, you could use masking tape, but it goes around the edges of this and it's nice if it's clear. So hopefully you have some clear tape. I'm going to use a Sharpie today, but of course I'm also going to use some markers. You can use a pencil if you need to, but you want to have some colored markers handy for this project. I did mention you're going to need some yarn. I've had this red yarn all summer so far, and so I'm just going to keep on using it, guys, but you could use whatever color yarn you have. Last but not least, like I said, you need some lids from water bottles. Now these are all from the same group of water bottles, so they're the same size. It doesn't matter, they don't have to be the same size, they just need to be able to fit inside of this paper plate container we're going to make. Alright guys, so those are the supplies. The next thing we're going to do is get started. If you're ready, I'm ready. So let's talk about what this thing is. It's got 2 paper plates that are inside out, so basically that means they are facing each other like this, okay? So grab yourself a couple of these paper plates. Also, to get started, we are going to use our Sharpie. So I'm going to place this right here. I don't know, I want to make sure you can still see it. On this side it says Tic-Tac-Toe on the Go, and on this side is the Tic-Tac-Toe board. So we're going to work on each of those one at a time. So just take one of your plates and place it so that it's upside down in front of you, okay? I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to work on this side first. This says Tic-Tac-Toe on the Go. So when you're doing this, you don't really want to crush the plate. So just do the best you can to be sort of gentle with it. And you're going to start by writing those words on there. Now I'm going to just do this and hold it up, and then I'm going to just keep working. So for example, here's the first word, tick, and tic-tac-toe on the go. You can do it any way you want to. I did it in bubble letters there. I'm going to do it a little differently this time, just for fun, just to show you that each time can be different. So if you like what I'm doing, you can do the same thing. If you have another idea, that is okay. So let's see how we can get creative. So there it says tic-tac, right? And then third word is toe. And so I'm going to go ahead and write toe right here. It's always fun to change it up so it's not exactly the same. And these are great gifts too. So here I wrote in lowercase, and here these are all capitals, and it's kind of like in a stack, tic-tac-toe. And I'm going to make this quite a bit smaller, but that's just for fun. I'm going to write on the go with an exclamation point at the bottom. So as you can see, it's just a little different and it's still cool. So it's fun to make these over and over again. So this one, I just did some markings on the outside with the colored markers. But if you have your Sharpie ready and you want to do some cool designs, I just want to show you. There is no right or wrong way to do this. You can have as much freedom and creative license as you like. See how I just drew a couple of lines like that? But you could do hearts, you could do flowers, you could do zigzags, you could do spirals. I'm going to do some spirals today, just to show you what I'm talking about, guys. You can just do whatever you like. Got a couple of spirals up there. I'm just going to keep working on this for a minute. The next thing we're going to do, though, is I'm going to actually do a little bit of a design around the outside edge. So what I want to also mention to you guys is this table has a table covering on it, but I also have a piece of mat board here, and this mat board protects the table, even the tablecloth. So it's always wise to have multiple things underneath where you're working just so you don't make marks on the surfaces that you're working on. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna let this be the way it is for a few minutes. I'm gonna take my other plate, set it down upside down. This is the tic-tac-toe board. So you're gonna notice that your plate has a ridge, meaning that's the flat part of the plate. Again, try not to crush it. Just take your time. I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to go around that circle slowly and carefully. Basically, I'm just tracing where it is. And you guys know what a tic-tac-toe board looks like. It's going to have 9 squares. And so the first two that you do, the first 2 rows, they just go like that. Then I'm going to turn my plate and I'm going to do the same thing in the other direction. And then I suddenly have my tic-tac-toe board. But just like I decorated the outside of this, I want to decorate the outside of this. So I'm going to go ahead and make it kind of similar. It's fun. And you make the front look sort of like the back. So, and just remember, it is not important for you to do this perfectly. You can always make another one another time. So because I had some spirals on the front, I'm going to have some spirals on the back. And just going to make another line right here. And maybe a few more of these lines. So what you want to do is decorate the outside, basically. What is outside your tic-tac-toe board right there. So this part. So I'm going to do another one of these nice long lines around the perimeter here. And that's looking pretty good. It needs some color though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color it now. I'm going to do that in time lapse, so it'll go really fast. But I want you to take your time at home. Don't rush through this. And then when we come back, we'll talk about the next steps. Here we go. All right, so done my coloring of my tic-tac-toe game pieces. I should say the game container. And as you can see, I tried to make it a little bit different than the first time, so you can always kind of change it up. So what we're going to do is, I just wanted to mention, sometimes when you're coloring, your plate might get squished, right? But the good news is you can just kind of flip it over, just kind of reshape it. What you really want to do is make sure it stays in that shape. All right, guys, so before we tape them together, we need to cut an opening so that you have a place for your game pieces to go in and out. So that's what your yarn is for. It holds it closed so you don't lose your pieces. But see, all it is a little flap here. That way, when the time comes and it's time to play your game, you can have them fall right out. All right, so, well, that's okay. Anyway, so what we're going to do is decide where that's going to be. And I'm going to put it on the back. So for me, I'm just going to put it somewhere right around here. What I want to say is, don't make it super big. It doesn't need to be enormous, but it should be relatively good size. Just, you want the pieces to be able to come out without you having to shake it too hard. So there we go. So you see how I have a flap there now? Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these things together. So basically, you're going to put one plate on top of the other. See how I did that? And now what we're going to do is we're going to start using that tape. So I'm going to take a piece of tape, very carefully, just holding it together, holding it still for the first piece of tape. We're going to take the tape and fold it over. So what I did right now, it's basically hinged, right? Like a clamshell. But now that that's hinged, I'm going to do a piece of tape on the opposite side. That's just going to help kind of keep it stable as I go around my plate. So What you don't want to do is tape this opening closed. So bend it back so you can't possibly do that. And then just start going around the edge with your tape. Just kind of gently fold it in place. I do think you probably just want to go all the way around. If you leave any gaps, you might lose some of your game pieces. So just make sure your tape is overlapping, as in with each other, so each piece is a little bit on top of the piece before it. Just go all the way around the edge of your container here. So, take my time. There we go. Sometimes when you're doing this, you get kind of like, you feel like you got to rush, but you just don't, guys. Just really enjoy it. Being creative is really good for you. It's healthy, it's fun, it's relaxing, so don't feel like you have to rush. I always try to work a little bit faster than my students do, just so that people can see what I'm doing, so they can see my example. Alright guys, so I'm going around and around and around, almost done, and getting close here. There we go. One more piece, and done. Alright, so I have gone all the way around the perimeter, which is the whole thing. Did not tape this thing closed. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my hole punch. And so what I'd like you to do is take your hole punch. Now I do want you to close that flap and poke a hole that goes through both pieces of plates, okay? So it goes through the opening, one that opens, and it goes through this. That way when you tie it with yarn later, it stays closed. Make sure it's not super close to the edge, otherwise it will tear. Alright, so this thing is ready. I'm going to set it aside, and now we're going to talk about the game pieces. So I decided to have 5 of each. So even though there are 9 squares, I think it's good to have 5 of each, because I want people to feel like it's fair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blank water bottle lids, and this is super easy, so I'm just going to line them up. I've got 5 of that one and 5 of that one. See how I did that? And then I'm going to use my Sharpie. Now for this, I think a Sharpie really is helpful. If you don't have a Sharpie, you could do it differently. You could cut some out of paper and glue them onto the lid if you want to do that with a different color. But a regular marker will not write properly on this plastic, and it would not work. So don't do that with a regular marker unless, like I said, you do it on paper and then glue it on. But if you got a Sharpie, see how I have 5 with X's now. Now I'm going to do 5 with the O's. And that's pretty easy. So I'm going to put these other ones away because they belong to my other game, which is on the floor, but that's all right. So here we go. This is super easy, guys. You're going to open up your flap, drop your game pieces into your container. Make sure that, like I said, the tape goes all the way around so you can't lose them. Now it's time for the yarn. So you don't need a super long piece of yarn. I'd say, for example, my scissors are probably 6 inches. That's probably plenty of yarn for this. Now I'm just going to push the yarn through the hole that I made with a hole punch. And I'm going to push through the other hole. Now all that's left to do is tie a little bow, and if you cannot tie a bow, that is okay. Just don't tie a really tight knot, because then you can't open it. Alright, so there you go, friends. Tic-tac-toe on the go. Fun game. You can take it wherever you like. It's fun. You can untie this yarn when you're ready to play. Dump out your game pieces. Make sure the flap goes back down. And it's time to play. So I'm the only one here, so I'm going to play against myself. I hope I win. Just not sure, so here we go, guys. You ready? All right. There we go. Okie dokie. Oh boy. What if I don't win, you guys? Oh, wait a minute. I did. Tic-tac-toe. 3 in a row. That was fun, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. We're going to be making another game next week. It's a type of maze, and we're going to use a box for that. So it would be some type of flat box, either from one that holds bottles of water or maybe cat food cans or something like that. You can also use a box of cereal. So I'll explain more about that when I see you next time, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you then.